what's up, fam? I'm Emily.
I'm Alex.
And we're related!
This is my cousin, Emily.
Hi.
Who's here visiting me today, and I love her to pieces.
Aw, I love you to more pieces.
This is gonna get weird really fast, isn't it? Okay, so Emily, tell us a little about yourself.
Okay, so I am currently, for a little bit longer, 25 years old. I am getting my doctorate in violin performance, which people always ask me, why would you want to do that? What can you do with that? Basically, I want to be a violin professor, and in order to have a tenured position, I need to get my Doctor of Musical Arts. So that's what I'm currently in the process of doing, and I just started the second semester of my first year. So I guess like in May, I'll be 1/3 of the way done, because it's 3 years. So I play violin a lot. I like dogs. I love pizza.
Awesome.
That's all you need to know about me.
So, you had a pretty fierce battle when you were younger. Can you tell us what happened and what that was?
Yeah, so it probably started around, I want to say, maybe like spring of my freshman year of college. I was like kind of away from home and just kind of like figuring stuff out, like going through just this uncharted territory that I had of being away from home, like being completely out of my element, being at a school that was 4 hours away from my family. And I think just like the pressure of everything, of school and trying to keep up with the demands of like my coursework and everything, it kind of got to me. I'm very much like a type A perfectionist type of person. So that definitely fed into it. Apparently I have the perfect personality to have an eating disorder, which I didn't know that there was such a thing. So I had gained like, I want to say it was only like 5 pounds, but I was like, this is like the end of the world. So after I after I finished my freshman year of undergrad, it was like the summer, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to work out. I'm going to get back in shape, even though I kind of still was in shape. But the salt and like the preservatives in like college dorm food, it made me really bloated. So I kind of had this like skewed idea of what I really looked like. And I was like, okay, like I'm gonna run every day, I'm gonna eat healthy. And I did that. And it kind of just morphed into just like this obsession that I had, that like when I started my sophomore year, I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna be a lot more focused. I'm gonna practice violin a lot more. And since I am going to be practicing a lot, I don't have time to work out. So that means I need to lessen my food intake. And that's kind of where it went from there. It just kind of snowballed until it was something that I couldn't control anymore.
So what sort of messages were playing in your head? What was your view of yourself?
I hated myself. I was not happy with the way that I looked, even though it's like you're standing in front of a mirror and you're looking at yourself, but what you see, like what others would see in you and what you see in the mirror, it's two completely different things. Like I still saw myself as being too large, even though I clearly was not. Just kind of these messages of like, this is the one thing in your life that you can control. You can control how much you're putting inside of your body. And like, I felt like I couldn't control anything else in my life. So it was just kind of messages of just like, you have to be better. You have to be in control. You have to look this certain type of way in order to be worthy or in order to be enough, so to speak.
So, obviously, as you were eating less and less, was it dangerous? Like, what was happening to your body and your emotional health?
So, I mean, obviously, I didn't look too hot. I looked really bad. There were times I specifically remember one time I was hanging out with some of my friends after an orchestra rehearsal. We were just chilling in my kitchen, and one moment I was standing, and the next moment I was on the floor, and I was like, "What happened?" And my roommate at the time, she was like, "I think you passed out," because like people knew that something wasn't quite right, but they didn't really want to say anything because I don't know, it's kind of like this hard place to navigate when it comes to like somebody else's health, because you don't want to assume something. Like I thought I was fine. I thought everything was fine. I think one of the hardest things for me was just like energy and being able to focus, because I think the only thing that was on my mind was just like food. It was like, what am I going to eat later? And how can I make it like the most healthy thing possible? It affected my emotional health in a way that I was just so depressed. I didn't want to go out anywhere. I didn't want to hang out with anybody. I just really, really hated myself. Like, I don't think I've ever felt a hatred like that towards anybody. And it was so strong for myself. So it was very emotional.
So what was the turning point for you? When did you realize you needed to stop?
So I think there were a couple turning points. I think the first one was my violin professor. It was towards like the end of one of my lessons, and this was like in the spring. This is probably when I was at my worst. She was like, "Are you doing okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm doing great. Why do you ask?" She's like, "You just look like you've lost a lot of weight." And I was like, "Oh no, like it's fine. I'm just like, I'm stressed. I don't have enough time to eat." Which was somewhat true, but I could have made time. You can always make time to eat something. So that was one point when like people started to notice it. Like people that like weren't my roommates or my boyfriend, like people who weren't around me like every single minute of every single day. I think another moment that I really realized that something was wrong when it like actually hit me was when I went home to see my parents, like to see my family on spring break, and my mom hugged me and she's like, "Oh my gosh, I feel like I'm gonna break you in half." And I think that was kind of like when my family realized that it was an issue. And like I remember this specifically. I was laying in bed and I was like, you know what? I'm just like, I don't think I'm anorexic, but you know what? I'm just gonna like Google like the symptoms and the characteristics. And I was like going through them and I'm like, oh crap. Like I kind of meet all of these characteristics. And then I was like, I guess maybe I should do something about it. Like I can't, like this isn't a sustainable way to live. And like violin, which was like my main focus at the time, like I couldn't focus. I couldn't memorize anything that I was supposed to memorize. It was hard. Like I couldn't stand up to practice. I had to sit down. It was just like everything, like my body was just so weak. Mm-hmm. So kind of all of those things made me realize at one point that, you know what, I think I need to go and get help.
So how did you defeat this dragon? What sort of weapons did you use and who helped you in fighting this battle?
So I was very fortunate enough to get into the eating disorder unit at Shepherd Pratt in Towson, Maryland. Yeah. Maryland. I think I had gone to this place in Hershey with my mom, and they were like, yeah, you need to go ASAP. I think that was when my mom like realized that like, oh, this is the real deal. Like, this is not going to go, like, this isn't good. Because I remember she started to cry and I started to cry. But I think because of where I was at weight-wise, they were able to kind of push for me to get into this unit. So I was inpatient at Shepherd Pratt, I want to say, for about a month. So that meant that I was there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week for about a month. I had 3 different types of therapy. I had my own personal therapy. I had family therapy. And then I had a bunch of different group therapies and stuff like that. I had meetings with a dietitian. It was very strict. We weren't allowed to use the bathroom by ourselves. Like, the nurses had to flush the toilets with a key because they didn't want you to be doing anything that you weren't supposed to be doing in there. We couldn't...
Like flushing down food? Maybe?
Yeah, or flushing down food. Or there were people who were bulimic and then would be doing that, and they didn't want that to happen. We had to kind of stay sedentary, so we weren't allowed to be like standing up for long periods of time. It was kind of just like reserving as many calories as possible, like in our bodies. It was probably one of the most difficult things that I've ever had to go through, because it was kind of having to rewire my brain and just like rewire all these thoughts that I had and just be like, you know what, this, even though I thought that this was okay, like this is not okay. So I journaled every day. I still have the journal, and sometimes I go back and read it. And it's kind of sad, like all the emotions come back, because it was a very like intense experience. And then after I was done being inpatient, I was in this partial hospitalization program where I was there, I think, for close to 12 hours a day. So I could go home at night and sleep in my own bed. Yay. But I guess, I had a lot of support. Obviously, I prayed. I was angry at God. I was like, why do I have to do this? I don't want to do this. Like, I think what I was doing was fine enough, and like everybody thinks I have a problem, and I don't have a problem. Like, I don't want to be at this facility. And it took a little bit of time for me to realize, like I need to be here. So it was kind of like a combination of like my doctors and my family and my friends, just having like this support system and people that I could lean on, and people who were like, you can do this, you can get better. So
what do you think might have happened if you hadn't gone through that hard fight of healing? Like, if you hadn't gone inpatient, or if you had just kept going, no, I'm not going to do this, what do you think would have happened?
I don't think I would be sitting here today, because when you restrict nutrients from your diet, like your body can't function, obviously. Like, people, like I cut out meat, which people do that, and that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I cut out a lot of carbohydrates from my diet, and carbs are like energy from your brain. And I just had brain fog all the time, and my blood sugar was super low, and like your body can just, like, your organs can fail, and you can get osteoporosis from not having enough like calcium for your bones and stuff like that. So, no, I don't think if I would have done the treatment, I don't think I would be here
Wow.
right now.
So today, do you still struggle? How do you resist any temptation to go back to starving yourself?
I struggle pretty much every single day. It's still, some days are easier than others. I still struggle with body dysmorphia. And if you're not familiar with that, it's where it's kind of back to the whole mirror thing. Like you look in the mirror and what you see isn't actually what is there. So sometimes I still think that I'm bigger than I actually am. Certain days, like if I had like a really big meal, it'll take kind of a lot of willpower and I guess brain power, they're kind of the same thing, to be like, okay, like I still need to eat something else. Or if I had like a huge holiday meal, like the next day I might be tempted to like not eat as much just to kind of like counteract everything. And I have to consciously be like, okay, like you still need to eat, you still need nutrients. Just because you ate a lot yesterday doesn't mean that you don't need to eat today. And I guess another thing, I have people in my life to keep me like accountable, like my roommates, my boyfriend, like my family. They know the signs, they know what to look out for, and they're usually really good at kind of like keeping me on track. But it's a constant battle, and it's something that I'm gonna have to deal with for the rest of my life. I think that's something that people don't really realize. They're like, oh, you went to treatment, you were there, and now you're cured. That's not really how that works. It's almost like it's an addiction. You get addicted to this feeling of hunger. And I kind of gauged my success as if I went to bed feeling super hungry, then I knew that I did the right thing. As warped as that is. But yeah, I still struggle with those feelings every day. I've struggled with them this morning. Yeah, so it's an ongoing battle.
So what would you say to maybe someone who's watching this who is feeling those same ways or fighting that same battle right now?
I would say first, you're not alone. Society is so dangerous with everything that's on social media and just all of these fad diets that are promoted that don't work, by the way. They are not sustainable. They might work for a little bit and you're going to be hangry and cranky and you're going to be miserable to be around. I was miserable to be around. Nobody wanted to hang out with me because I was just like this shell of a person. What else would I say? Well, you're not alone. Recovery is possible. It's going to be the hardest thing that you'll probably ever have to do in your life, but it's possible and it's worth it, and food freedom is possible. And I remember the first Thanksgiving that I had after I had been in treatment. And I just felt so free to just eat whatever I wanted, eat as much mashed potatoes as I want, and just having that weight off of my shoulders. It's a hard battle, but it's possible to recover. So
if you could go back and say something to your younger self when you were at your worst, what would you say?
I would give myself a big hug because I know how much that girl was hurting and I know how shot her self-esteem was. I was just so insecure about myself and so conscious of what I thought people were thinking about me. So first I would give myself a hug and tell myself that, you know what, it's going to be okay. Like the best is yet to come. Like you still have so many more things to do with your life. I think I would just sit down with my younger self and just be there and listen to her and just hear what she has to say. Kind of maybe like a big sister would.
So to conclude, tell us all about your favorite food.
Haha, my favorite food is pizza. I actually have a pizza phone case on my phone right now because I just love it. I could eat it breakfast, lunch, and dinner every single day of the year. It's just great.
Yes, I agree. I love it too.
Yeah, and I weird story. I had like an 8-hour layover in Chicago on my way from Texas to South Carolina. So I just went like boop, boop, and was in Chicago. I have a friend who lives there, and I'm like, you know what I want to do? I want to get deep dish pizza.
Yes.
So that's exactly what I did. And
Amen.
It was the second time I had it, because the first time I had it was when I was auditioning for my master's degree at Northwestern, and I know you appreciate the deep dish in Chicago.
100%.
So, it's just, I like any type of pizza. I'm not crazy about a bunch of toppings on it. I'm kind of what I like to call a pizza purist, which everybody makes fun of me for. They're like, why don't you like all this stuff on your pizza? And I'm like,
I'm the same.
I'm like, I just want it to have just cheese.
Cheese, yes!
Thank you! Unless it's a margarita pizza, then it's like a little bit of basil on top of it. That's acceptable. That's acceptable. But anything else, like...
Yeah, I'm the same way.
You put all those... I'm just like, that's a no for me, dog.
Exactly.
So...
Maybe pepperoni.
Maybe.
But cheese, yes. Oh,
Yes.
I'm so glad there's
Yes! Yeah!
Awesome.
Runs in the family, probably. So...
Well,
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course. Another thing that I want to say to people is that eating disorders don't have a specific size. You can be any weight, shape, size, ethnicity, I guess gender. Anybody can have or suffer from an eating disorder, and it affects everybody the same way. So if you're thinking, I really struggle with my relationship with food, but I'm not this teeny tiny human, it doesn't matter. Like, your struggle is still valid, and you still deserve to get help and feel free from the burden of an eating disorder. So.
That's good. Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
Yeah.
All right.